Chapter 1. The Whispering Oak. In the heart of the American Midwest, wrapped in the serene embrace of the Willow River, lay the quaint town of Riverton Bend, its streets lined with a mix of charming historic buildings and modest modern homes, whispered stories of a past rich with mystery and allure. The town, known for its vibrant community and picturesque landscapes, was a tapestry of old-world charm and gentle progress. On a crisp autumn morning, with leaves painting the sidewalks in shades of amber and gold, Henry Hawks Smart, a bright-eyed 13-year-old with a penchant for mystery, set out on his bike towards the center of town. His hair, the color of chestnut leaves in the fall, was tousled in the gentle breeze, and his keen green eyes sparkled with an innate curiosity. "Henry, wait up!" called a voice from behind. It was Leo Baxter, Henry's best friend and partner in numerous childhood escapades. Leo, with his unruly curly red hair and a smile that rarely left his face, pedaled hard to catch up. "Slow down, Hawk. What's the rush?" Leo asked as he pulled alongside Henry. Henry grinned, adjusting his multi-pocketed jacket. "No rush. Just excited about what today might bring. You never know what mysteries Riverton Bend has in store for us." Boys rode through the town, passing the old town centre where brick-laid buildings stood as silent custodians of the town's history. They waved at Mrs. Jenkins, who was setting up her flower shop, her blooms adding colour to the rustic charm of Main Street. Their destination was the town park, a verdant oasis that hosted the legendary old oak tree, known affectionately as Old Whispers. The tree, with its sprawling branches and ancient, gnarled trunk, had been the focal point of many local legends and childhood tales. As they parked their bikes near the oak, Henry looked up at its towering form. "There's something special about Old Whispers. It's like it's guarding secrets from centuries past." Leo, always ready for an adventure, chimed in. "It's our job to uncover those secrets." With a determined nod, Henry replied, "Exactly. Let's start by exploring around the base. Who knows what clues we might find?" They began their investigation, carefully examining the ground around the tree, their young minds alive with possibilities. The tranquility of the park, coupled with the gentle rustling of the leaves above, created a perfect backdrop for their exploration. "Check this out," Leo called out, pointing to a series of peculiar markings on the tree's trunk. "Do you think they mean something?" Henry, ever the analyst, inspected the markings closely. They could be old carvings, maybe symbols or a code of some sort. Their examination was interrupted by the sound of laughter and chatter as other kids from their school started arriving at the park. Among them was Jake Collins, a classmate known for his competitive nature. "Looks like we're not the only ones interested in Old Whispers today," Leo observed, watching the other kids approach. Henry nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Let's keep our findings to ourselves for now. We don't want a crowd trampling over potential clues." As they continued their search, the boys discussed the many legends surrounding Old Whispers, from tales of hidden treasures to secret meetings during historic wars. The mystery of the old oak tree was a puzzle they were determined to solve, and with each passing moment, their resolve only grew stronger. The morning sun climbed higher, casting a warm glow over Riverton Bend. Henry and Leo's adventure under the watchful boughs of Old Whispers had just begun. Little did they know their curiosity would soon lead them down a path filled with intrigue, history, and a discovery that would captivate the entire town. Later that day, after their initial exploration at the park, Henry Hawks Smart and Leo Baxter found themselves in the attic of the Smart family home, a treasure trove of forgotten relics and family heirlooms. The attic, with its dusty beams of light filtering through small windows, was like a capsule of time, housing memories and secrets of generations past. "Henry, your attic is like a museum," Leo said, his eyes wide with wonder, as he sifted through old boxes and trinkets. "It's my grandpa's collection. He loved gathering stuff from all over Riverton Bend," Henry replied, carefully maneuvering through the clutter. As they delved deeper into the attic, a particular box caught Henry's attention. It was an old wooden chest, slightly ajar, with intricate carvings on its surface. The chest seemed to beckon them with a silent promise of hidden story. "Leo, look at this!" Henry called out, his voice tinged with excitement. Leo hurried over and together they opened the chest. Inside, amidst various keepsakes, was a rolled-up piece of parchment. Henry carefully unfurled it, revealing a map. The paper was yellowed with age, its edges frayed and tattered. "This looks ancient," Leo whispered, peering over Henry's shoulder. The map depicted Riverton Bend, but an older version of the town. Landmarks were recognizable, but the streets were fewer, the layout simpler. What caught their attention was a large X marked near the depiction of the old oak tree in the park. "Could this be a treasure map?" Leo asked, barely containing his excitement. "It might be," Henry replied, his mind racing. "Look at the symbols and markings around the X. They're unusual, not like regular map symbols." The boys studied the map, their imaginations alight with the possibilities it presented. The map was not only a clue to potential treasure, but also a window into the town's history. "We need to find out more about this map, its origins, and what it might lead to," Henry said, his detective instincts kicking in. And we need to figure out what these symbols mean," Leo added, pointing to the cryptic markings. As they pondered over the map, the attic seemed to close in around them, the air thick with the scent of old wood and mystery. The walls, lined with artifacts and old photographs, felt like silent witnesses to their discovery. "We should start by researching the history of the oak tree and these symbols," Henry suggested, his eyes never leaving the map. "Agreed. And we need to be careful. If this is real, we're not the only ones who'd be interested in it," Leo said, a note of caution in his voice. The boys carefully rolled the map back up, a sense of responsibility settling over them. They knew they were on the cusp of something extraordinary, something that could unravel the secrets of Riverton Bend and the legendary old whispers. As they descended the attic stairs, the map securely in Henry's grasp, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the Smart family home. Unbeknownst to them, their discovery in the dusty attic was about to lead them on an adventure that would intertwine their lives with the legends and lore of their beloved town. With the mysterious map from the attic, Henry Hawke Smart and Leo Baxter set out on a quest for knowledge, determined to unravel the history of the old oak tree and the legends that shrouded it. Their first destination was the Riverton Bend Public Library, a repository of local history and lore. The library, with its towering shelves of books and the quiet hum of studious activity, was a sanctuary for the boys. They headed straight to the local history section, where dusty tomes and old newspaper archives promised hidden gems of information. "Let's split up. I'll look through the books, and you can go through the old newspapers," Henry suggested, his eyes scanning the titles on the shelves. "Got it, Hawke," Leo replied, making his way to the microfilm reader. Henry's fingers traced the spines of the books, selecting those that mentioned Riverton Bend's early days and its landmarks. He opened one that detailed the town's founding, flipping through the pages until he came across a section about the park and its famous oak tree. "Listen to this," Henry called out. "This book says the oak tree was already a landmark when the town was founded. It's over 3 centuries old." "That's incredible," Leo responded, his voice muffled from behind a stack of newspapers. "Check this out. I found an old article about a town festival held under the oak tree. It says the tree was considered sacred by local Native American tribes." Their research uncovered a tapestry of stories and legends. The old oak tree, affectionately known as Old Whispers, had been a silent witness to the town's evolution. It had served as a meeting spot, a landmark in historical events, and the subject of many a local legend. One legend in particular caught their attention. It spoke of a pirate, Captain Blackwater, who was rumored to have hidden his treasure in Riverton Bend during the late 1700s. The legend hinted that the old oak tree was a marker for where the treasure was buried. "This could be what our map is about," Henry mused, his mind piecing together the information. "The pirate era aligns with the age of the map. And the symbols on the map could be related to pirate codes or something," Leo added, his excitement growing. As they continued to delve into the history and myths, the librarian, Mrs. Fletcher, approached them. "I see you boys are deep into research. What mystery are you unraveling this time?" "We found an old map that might be related to a pirate treasure," Henry replied, showing her the map. Mrs. Fletcher examined it with interest. "This is quite a find. You know, the history of our town is full of such mysteries. Be careful, though. Such searches can be unpredictable." "We will, Mrs. Fletcher. Thanks," Henry said, a determined glint in his eye. With the library closing, the boys gathered their notes and copies of relevant articles. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly coming together, but they knew they were only at the beginning of their journey. They stepped out into the evening light. The town of Riverton Bend seemed to whisper secrets through the rustling leaves and the winding streets. The old oak tree, standing tall in the park, was no longer just a tree in their eyes, but a beacon calling them to adventure. Chapter 2. Clues and Conundrums. In the early morning, Henry Hawk Smart and Leo Baxter were already on their way to the town park. The air was crisp, filled with the promise of autumn and adventure. "Remember, we need to be observant. Every detail could be a clue," Henry reminded Leo as they approached the park. His detective instincts were in full swing, his eyes scanning the surroundings with practiced ease. "Got it, Hawk. You're the brains. I'm the charm," Leo replied with a wink, his curly red hair catching the morning light. The park was serene in the early hours, with only the chirping of birds and the distant sound of the Willow River flowing. At its heart stood the old oak tree, majestic and imposing, its thick branches reaching out like ancient arms. "This tree must have so many stories to tell," Leo mused, looking up at the gnarled branches. "Only it could talk," Henry said, circling the tree. He ran his hand over the rough bark, feeling its grooves and knots. "Let's start by examining the base. The map shows the X right here." They began their search, carefully inspecting the ground around the tree. Fallen leaves crunched under their feet, a testament to the season's change. "Look at this," Leo called out, pointing to a series of markings on the tree's trunk. "Do you think it's natural?" Henry examined the markings. "No, these are too uniform. It looks like someone carved them, but they're old, very old." As they continued their search, an elderly man walking his dog approached them. "Morning, boys. What are you up to around Old Whispers?" he asked, referring to the oak by its local nickname. "We're on a treasure hunt," Leo replied enthusiastically, and chuckled. "To be young again. Old Whispers has been the subject of many treasure tales, but she's more than legends. She's a piece of our town's history." Henry, intrigued, asked, "Do you know any stories about the tree, sir?" "Well," the man began, his eyes reflecting memories, "they say the tree was a meeting spot for secret gatherings during the Revolutionary War, and some old folks claim it was a landmark for hidden treasures, but who can say for sure?" "Thank you, sir. That's very interesting," Henry said, his mind racing with possibilities. As the man walked away, Leo turned to Henry. "Do you think the treasure could be related to the Revolutionary War?" "Possibly, but we need more evidence," Henry replied, his gaze fixed on the tree. Their search, methodically checking every inch around the tree. Suddenly, Leo stumbled upon a loose stone. "Henry, come look at this!" Henry joined him, and together they lifted the stone, revealing a small, hollow space underneath. Inside, they found an old coin, its surface tarnished but still showing intricate designs. "This looks like it could be from the pirate era," Henry exclaimed, his eyes lighting up. "Or maybe older," Leo added, equally excited. Their discovery fueled their determination. They spent the rest of the morning carefully searching the area, finding a few more artifacts that hinted at the tree's historical significance. As noon approached, the boys sat under Old Whispers, their minds abuzz with theories and plans. The old oak tree, silent and wise, stood watch over them, its leaves whispering in the gentle breeze. "Just the beginning, Leo. There's more to this tree in this park than meets the eye," Henry said, his voice full of conviction. Leo nodded, his smile broad. "And we're going to uncover it all, Hawk, piece by piece." As they left the park, their spirits high with the thrill of the hunt, Riverton Bend seemed to embrace their quest, its streets and corners whispering encouragement to the young detectives set on unraveling the mysteries of the past. After their morning discovery at the park, Henry Hawk Smart and Leo Baxter decided to seek insights from the residents of Riverton Bend, each a potential key to unlocking the mystery of the old oak tree. Their first stop was the Riverton Diner, a local favorite, where they hoped to gather some anecdotes from the older townsfolk. The diner, with its red-checkered tablecloths and the aroma of fresh coffee, was always bustling with activity. People loved to share stories. We just need to ask the right questions, Henry advised as they entered the diner. Leo nodded, his eyes scanning the room. There's Mr. Higgins. He's lived here forever. Let's start with him. Approaching Mr. Higgins, who was sipping coffee by the window, they greeted him warmly. Morning, Mr. Higgins. Can we ask you about the old oak tree in the park? Henry inquired politely. Mr. Higgins looked up, his eyes twinkling. Ah, old Whispers. That tree could tell more tales than anyone in this town. What do you want to know? We found an old map and some artifacts near the tree. We're trying to learn more about its history, Leo chimed in. Mr. Higgins began. My grandfather used to tell me stories about smugglers using the tree as a landmark, but who knows if there's any truth to it. Thanking Mr. Higgins, they moved to another table, where Mrs. Peterson, the town's librarian, was enjoying a quiet breakfast. Mrs. Peterson, have you ever come across any old stories or records about the oak tree? Henry asked, his notebook at the ready. Indeed, I have, she replied, pushing her glasses up her nose. There are legends of hidden compartments within the tree used during the Prohibition era, but, as with all legends, it's hard to separate fact from fiction. Their next stop was Grandpa Joe, Henry's grandfather, a retired police officer with a wealth of local knowledge. They found him in his garden, tending to his roses. Grandpa, we're investigating the old oak tree in the park. Do you know anything about it from your policing days? Henry asked eagerly. Pa Joe leaned on his shovel, a smile creeping across his face. Well, I remember an old case. We heard rumors about a hidden cache near that tree. Never found anything, but the mystery was always there. Could it have been pirate treasure? Leo asked, barely containing his excitement. Pirate treasure, eh? Could be, or maybe something even older. That tree's been there longer than the town itself, Grandpa Joe mused. Their final visit was to the local historical society, where they spoke with Mr. Thompson, a historian. The oak tree has been a silent witness to Riverton Bend's evolution. If these artifacts you found are genuine, they could be a significant discovery, he noted, examining the coin they'd brought. Leaving the historical society, Henry and Leo felt a mix of excitement and awe. The stories and information they had gathered painted a picture of a town rich in history, with the old oak tree at its heart. The more we learn, the more intriguing this becomes, Henry said thoughtfully as they walked back home. And everyone has a different piece of the puzzle, Leo added, his mind racing with possibilities. As they retraced their steps through the charming streets of Riverton Bend, the whispers of history seemed to echo around them, urging them on in their quest to uncover the secrets of the old oak tree. The next day, with a newfound sense of purpose, Henry Hawke, Smart, and Leo Baxter returned to the old oak tree in the park, ready to delve deeper into its secrets. The morning sun cast long shadows on the ground, creating an almost mystical atmosphere around old whispers. As they neared the tree, they noticed a group of kids from their school clustered around its base, examining the ground and talking animatedly. The leader of the group was Jake Collins, known for his competitive nature and love for a good challenge. Looks like we're not the only ones interested in the tree's secrets, Leo whispered to Henry, a hint of concern in his voice. Henry's brow furrowed. We need to be careful. They might disrupt our investigation. Approached the group cautiously. Hey, Jake, what brings you to Old Whispers? Henry asked, trying to sound casual. Jake looked up, a smug smile on his face. Hey, Hawke, we heard about your little treasure hunt. Thought we'd join the fun, maybe beat you to it. Henry and Leo exchanged a worried glance. The last thing they needed was a reckless hunt that could damage the tree or the surrounding area. We need to be respectful of the park and the tree. It's an important part of our town's history, Henry said firmly. Jake scoffed. Relax, Hawke. It's just a tree. First one to find the treasure wins. May the best team win. With that, Jake and his friends resumed their search, poking around the tree with sticks. Pulled Leo aside. We can't let them turn this into a game. There's too much at stake. We need to be strategic and quick. Leo nodded. Let's split up. I'll keep an eye on them and try to slow them down if they get too close to finding anything important. You focus on our next steps. They executed their plan. Leo engaged Jake's team in conversation, trying to distract them with exaggerated tales of other potential treasure spots in the park. Meanwhile, Henry, using his keen observation skills, began to search the areas of the park not yet trampled by the rival group. As time passed, the race became more intense. Jake's group, fueled by the thrill of competition, became more haphazard in their search, digging at random and disturbing the peace of the park. Henry, growing increasingly concerned about the potential damage, decided to take a risk. He approached Jake, his tone serious. "Jake, this isn't a game. We could be on the brink of a significant historical discovery. We should be working together, not against each other." Surprised by Henry's earnestness, paused. "You really think there's something big here?" "Yes, I do. And it's bigger than a competition. It's about preserving our town's history," Henry replied. After a moment of contemplation, Jake nodded. "All right, Hawk. Let's do this the right way," he signaled to his friends, to stop their haphazard searching. With a newfound sense of unity, the two groups combined their efforts, sharing information and ideas. The rivalry transformed into collaboration, with each child contributing to the careful exploration of the area surrounding Old Whisper. As the sun began to set, the kids stood around the old oak tree, no longer competitors but comrades in a shared adventure. The obstacle they had faced had brought them together, and in doing so had strengthened their resolve to uncover the mysteries that lay hidden in the heart of Riverton Bend. Chapter 3. Unraveling the Past. By their initial findings, Henry Hawk Smart and Leo Baxter embarked on a deeper exploration into Riverton Bend's history, particularly the lore surrounding the old oak tree. Their journey took them through the hushed aisles of the local library and along the town's memory-laden streets where long-time residents held keys to the past. The Riverton Bend Public Library was a fortress of knowledge, its walls lined with volumes of untold stories. Mrs. Fletcher, the librarian, greeted them with a knowing smile as they entered. "Back again, boys. I suppose the mystery of the old oak tree is proving quite the riddle." "You could say that, Mrs. Fletcher," Henry replied. "We're looking for anything on local legends, especially about pirates and hidden treasures." "Well, you're in the right place. Let me show you some of our special collections," Mrs. Fletcher said, leading them to a section with older, more delicate books. As they sifted through the volumes, whispers of the past seemed to echo off the pages. Each book offered a new piece of the puzzle. Tales of settlers, anecdotes of old festivals under the oak tree, and legends of hidden treasures. Meanwhile, Leo found himself drawn to a series of old photographs showcasing the town through the ages. "Henry, come look at these! The oak tree's been in almost every major town event," he called out. "Photos are a window into our town's soul," Mrs. Fletcher remarked. "That tree has seen more history than any of us." Armed with notes and photocopies, the boys thanked Mrs. Fletcher and headed to the heart of the town. Their next step was to talk to some of Riverton Bend's oldest residents, hoping to glean insights from their personal story. Their first visit was to Mr. Jacobs, a retired teacher and a history enthusiast. His house, a cozy bungalow adorned with wind chimes, had a welcoming air. "Ah, the young detectives," Mr. Jacobs greeted them with a chuckle. "What brings you to my humble abode?" "We're researching the history of the old oak tree in the park," Henry explained. "We heard you might have some stories to share." Mr. Jacobs's eyes twinkled with memories. "Old Whispers, as we used to call it. That tree was our playground, our secret meeting spot. Legends say it was a marker for something valuable, maybe treasure." "You ever look for the treasure?" Leo asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. "Many times as a boy, but all we found were acorns and childhood tales," Mr. Jacobs replied with a laugh. Their next stop was Mrs. Calloway, a long-time resident known for her extensive knowledge of local folklore. Her house, nestled near the river, was a treasure trove of antiques and historical artifacts. "You're investigating old whispers, aren't you?" she said, leading them into her living room, where walls were lined with old maps and painting. "Yes, ma'am. We found an old map that we think is linked to the tree," Henry said, showing her the map. Mrs. Calloway studied the map intently. "This is fascinating. You know, there's an old story about a pirate, Captain Blackwater, who supposedly hid his loot in Riverton Bend. Some say the oak tree was a landmark for his treasure." Day turned to evening, and the boys' heads were buzzing with tales and theories. Riverton Bend, with its rich history and enigmatic landmarks, was more than just their hometown. It was a living archive of stories waiting to be discovered. As they walked home, the old oak tree stood in the distance, its silhouette a stark contrast against the twilight sky. Henry and Leo, with a newfound respect for their town's history, felt the weight and thrill of their quest. The deep dive into Riverton Bend's past had not only brought them closer to uncovering the mystery of the map, but had also deepened their connection to the town and its storied legacy. They were sitting in the Hawks' room when the sound of a car pulling up outside drew their attention. Looking out the window, Henry saw his Aunt Clara stepping out of a taxi. Aunt Claire was a globe-trotting journalist, known for her adventurous spirit and wealth of knowledge about the world's hidden corners. "Aunt Clara's back!" Henry exclaimed, excitement lighting up his face. The boys hurried downstairs, greeting her as she entered, her arms laden with travel bags and a collection of exotic trinkets from her latest journey. "Henry! Leo! How wonderful to see you both," Aunt Claire said, her eyes sparkling with affection and curiosity. "What's new in Riverton Bend?" "Actually, we're in the middle of a big mystery," Leo said, unable to contain his enthusiasm. "We found an old map that we think leads to pirate treasure." Intrigued, Aunt Claire asked to see the map. The boys led her to the dining-room table, where they had the map spread out, along with their notes and historical references. Aunt Claire studied the map intently, her brows furrowing in concentration. "This is remarkable. The symbols and style remind me of nautical maps I've seen in my travels, especially from the pirate era." "You think it's authentic?" Henry asked, his voice a mix of hope and skepticism. "It certainly looks like it could be. Pirates often used landmarks as guides to their hidden catches. This oak tree could be a crucial marker," Aunt Clara explained. "But we don't know what these symbols mean," Leo pointed out, pointing to the cryptic markings. His eyes lit up with recognition. "These symbols resemble a cipher used by pirates. I saw similar ones in a museum in the Caribbean. Each symbol could represent a direction or a step in the journey to find a treasure." The revelation brought new energy to the boys' quest. The map was not just a relic of the past. It was a puzzle that they were beginning to piece together. "We've been researching the history of the oak tree and the town," Henry said, "but we didn't know how to interpret these symbols." Aunt Clara smiled. "Sometimes the answers lie in a wider view of the world. Your map is a bridge between local history and global tales of adventure." As the afternoon faded into evening, Aunt Claire shared stories of her travels, each tale adding depth to the boys' understanding of their own adventure. She promised to help them decipher the symbols, offering a connection to experts who could shed more light on the map's origins. Henry and Leo, with Aunt Clara's insights and assistance, felt a renewed sense of purpose. The map was no longer just a piece of old parchment. It was a key to a hidden chapter of Riverton Bend's past waiting to be unlocked. Aunt Claire settled into her room. The boys retreated to Henry's, their minds buzzing with ideas and theories. They knew the coming days would be filled with more research, more exploration, and the thrilling possibility of standing on the brink of an extraordinary discovery. Aunt Clara's unexpected help had not only provided crucial insights into the map's origins, but had also woven her own spirit of adventure into the fabric of their journey. The days following Aunt Clara's arrival were a whirlwind of activity for Henry Hawk Smart and Leo Baxter. Fueled by Aunt Clara's insights and their own relentless curiosity, they delved deeper into the mystery of the map. However, they were not the only ones chasing the secrets of Riverton Bend's past. One evening, as the boys were poring over the map in Henry's room, a knock on the door jolted them from their focus. It was Jake Collins, the leader of the rival group of treasure hunters, accompanied by his friend. "Hawk, we need to talk," Jake said, a serious tone replacing his usual competitive swagger. Henry, surprised by the unexpected visit, invited them in. "What's going on, Jake?" Jake held out a sheaf of papers. "We've been doing our own research, and we found something you guys need to see." He gathered around as Jake spread out the papers. They were printouts of historical documents and letters, unearthed from a forgotten archive in the library's basement. These letters were written by the founder of Riverton Bend, Charles Riverton, Jake explained. "And guess what? He was more than just a town founder. He was a cartographer and a close associate of sea traders. Henry and Leo exchanged a look of astonishment. The creator of their mysterious map was none other than the town's founder. The letters mention a map he created, a special one with hidden details only known to him, Jake continued. It's got to be the map you found. But why would Charles Riverton create a map with pirate symbols? Leo asked, his mind racing. Had many secrets, Jake said. These letters suggest he was involved in covert trade operations, possibly even with pirates. The map might have been a way to document a hidden treasure or a secret trade route. The revelation added a thrilling new dimension to the mystery. The map was not just a random artifact. It was a creation of the very man who laid the foundations of Riverton Bend. This changes everything, Henry said, a sense of awe in his voice. Our town's founder was part of a bigger story, one that might have shaped the very history of Riverton Bend. Jake nodded. We thought you should know. We're still competitors, but this is bigger than just finding treasure. It's about uncovering our town's hidden past. Thanks for sharing this, Jake, Leo said, gratitude mingling with excitement. This is a piece of the puzzle we never expected. As Jake and his friends left, Henry and Leo sat back, the weight of the discovery sinking in. The map was a legacy of Charles Riverton, a man whose life was shrouded in enigma and adventure. It grew deeper, and the boys' room was filled with an electric sense of possibility. The journey ahead promised not only the thrill of the hunt, but also a deeper connection to the roots of Riverton Bend. The twist in the tale had transformed their quest from a simple search for treasure to a journey through the veiled corridors of history, where every clue and every discovery was a step closer to unraveling the true story of their beloved town. Chapter 4. The Heart of the Mystery. Armed with the revelation about Charles Riverton's connection to the map, Henry Hawke Smart and Leo Baxter found themselves at the threshold of a significant breakthrough. The mystery of the map had become a tapestry woven through the very history of Riverton Bend, and they were about to uncover its heart. In Henry's room, under the dim light of a desk lamp, the boys spread out the map, the letters from Charles Riverton, and their extensive notes. The surrounding walls were adorned with photographs of the oak tree and historical documents, creating a makeshift command center for their investigation. Henry, look at this symbol here, Leo pointed to a peculiar marking on the map. It matches the symbol in Riverton's letter. It's not just decorative, it's a clue. You're right, Henry said, his mind racing. And remember what Aunt Clara said about pirate ciphers? This could be a directional marker. Boys Cross referenced the symbol with a book on maritime symbols Aunt Clara had given them. Slowly, the cryptic markings on the map began to make sense. They were not random. They were a set of instructions, a guide leading to a specific location in Riverton Bend. The old oak tree is just the starting point, Henry realized. These symbols tell us where to go from there. We have to follow them exactly. Equipped with a compass, a notebook, and their unwavering determination, Henry and Leo set out the next morning to trace the path laid out by the map. The autumn air was crisp, and the town of Riverton Bend seemed to watch in silent anticipation as the boys began their quest. Starting at the old oak tree, they followed the directions indicated by the symbols. North, past the old town hall, east towards the Willow River, then a sharp turn back towards the heart of the park. Each step was measured, each turn calculated. The map led them through familiar parts of the town, yet each step felt like a journey into the unknown. The boys moved with a mix of excitement and reverence, aware they were walking a path laid down centuries ago. After a series of turns and careful measurements, they found themselves in a secluded part of the park, a stone's throw away from the river. It was a quiet area, untouched by the usual bustle of the town's daily life. "It has to be it," Leo whispered, his voice barely above a breath. Henry knelt down, inspecting the ground. Hidden among the underbrush, almost invisible to a casual observer, was a small metal ring embedded in the ground. With a shared look of anticipation, they pulled at the ring, revealing a hidden trapdoor. The trapdoor opened to reveal a narrow passage leading down into the darkness. The boys exchanged a nervous yet excited glance. This was it, the heart of the mystery that had captivated their imaginations and the town's history. "Are you ready?" Henry asked, his voice steady, despite the pounding of his heart. "Let's do this," Leo replied, determination in his eyes. Into the hidden passage beneath the trapdoor, the guys found themselves in a narrow tunnel, its walls echoing with the whispers of history. Their flashlight beams danced across ancient stones and forgotten cobwebs, revealing a path that had remained unseen for centuries. As they cautiously made their way forward, the sound of voices ahead brought them to a halt. It was Jake Collins and his team, their flashlight beams intersecting with Henry and Leo's. "We knew you'd lead us right to it," Jake said, a mix of triumph and rivalry in his voice. Henry, keeping his composure, replied, "Jake, this isn't a game. This tunnel could be unstable, and we don't know what we're dealing with here." "We're not backing down now. We've come too far," Jake retorted, his friends nodding in agreement. Leo, stepping forward, said, "Listen, we don't have to do this as rivals. This is bigger than all of us. Let's figure this out together." A tense pause, the air thick with uncertainty and the weight of the discovery they were on the brink of making. Finally, Jake sighed, the competitive fire in his eyes giving way to reason. "Right, smart. Lead the way, but we're in this together now." The two groups merged, moving cautiously through the tunnel. The air was cool and damp, carrying the scent of earth long undisturbed. As they progressed, the tunnel opened into a larger chamber, the walls etched with symbols similar to those on the map. Henry and Leo, with Jake and his team now as reluctant allies, began to examine the chamber. The symbols on the walls were intricate, telling a story that was part history, part legend. "These symbols, they're like the ones on the map. Look, this one shows a ship, and that one there is a compass rose," Henry observed, his flashlight illuminating the carvings. Leo added, "And these over here could be depicting trade routes, or maybe even the journey of the treasure itself." Pieced together the story on the walls, the chamber revealed its most astonishing secret. In the center of the room, half buried under dirt and debris, was a large, rusted chest. The discovery sent a wave of excitement through the group. This was it, the heart of the mystery that had been hidden beneath Riverton Bend for centuries. "Let's open it together," Henry suggested, a sense of unity filling the chamber. Together, they cleared the chest and carefully opened it. Inside, they found not gold or jewels, but something far more valuable, a collection of historical artifacts, documents, and personal belongings, each a piece of Riverton Bend's untold past. The chest contained letters, maps, and trinkets from various eras, each item shedding light on the town's history and Charles Riverton's life. It was a treasure of knowledge, a link to the past that had been waiting to be rediscovered. As they emerged from the tunnel, the chest of historical treasures in tow, the former rivals felt a sense of accomplishment and awe. Their journey had started as a race for treasure, but it had become a journey of discovery, uniting them in a shared respect for their town's history. The confrontation in the tunnel had led to a resolution far greater than any of them had anticipated. They had uncovered a part of Riverton Bend's soul, and in doing so, they had forged a bond that went beyond rivalry and competition. The true treasure, they realized, was the journey they had shared and the history they had brought back to light. The discovery of the historical treasures in the underground chamber marked a pivotal moment for Henry Hawksmart, Leo Baxter, Jake Collins, and their friends. However, the map still held one final secret that beckoned them back to the surface, to the very roots of the old oak tree. As the evening sun cast long shadows across Riverton Bend Park, the group, now united by their shared experience, gathered around old whispers. The ancient tree, with its gnarled branches and sturdy trunk, seemed to stand as a silent guardian over the mystery they were yet to unravel. "Henry, do you think there's more to the map?" Leo asked, gazing at the old tree with newfound reverence. Henry, holding the map, replied, "There's one last symbol we haven't figured out. It's right here, at the base of the tree." The group started to carefully examine the ground around the tree, mindful not to disturb the natural setting more than necessary. As they searched, Jake's friend, Sarah, noticed a small, almost imperceptible outline in the soil. "Guys, look at this!" she called out, pointing to the outline. They brushed away the soil and leaves, revealing a stone slab with a familiar symbol etched onto it. It matched the last symbol on the map, a final clue from Charles Riverton. "This must be it," Jake said, excitement lacing his voice. "The last piece of the puzzle." Working together, they managed to shift the heavy stone, uncovering a narrow cavity beneath. Inside the cavity, shrouded in shadows, was a small metal box, its surface aged but still intact. The air was thick with anticipation as Henry carefully lifted the box out of its hiding place. The group gathered around, their faces a mixture of curiosity and awe. "Open it?" Leo asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "We need to take this somewhere safe and see what's inside," Henry suggested, closing the box gently. "Let's go to my garage," Jake offered. "We can use the workbench there." Under the fluorescent lights of Jake's garage, the box seemed almost otherworldly. The group huddled around as Henry once again opened the lid, revealing the contents. The box's contents are still veiled in mystery. Whatever lay within held the final answers to their adventure, the last words in a story that spanned centuries and had brought them all together in an unforgettable journey of discovery. As they leaned in to unveil the secrets of the box, the legacy of Charles Riverton, the history of Riverton Bend, and the true nature of their quest were about to be revealed. This discovery, long buried beneath old whispers, was about to shed light on forgotten chapters of their town's past, closing one chapter of their adventure while possibly opening another. Chapter 5. The Treasure Unveiled. The small metal box, aged and worn, sat on Jake's garage workbench, surrounded by a huddle of eager faces. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting a bright glow on the box as Henry Hawk-Smart prepared to reveal its long-concealed content. "Here we go," Henry said, his voice steady but filled with anticipation. He carefully opened the lid, and the group leaned in closer. Instead of the glint of gold or the sparkle of jewels, they were greeted by a collection of old documents, faded photographs, and a few small, intricate artifacts. The air was filled with a sense of wonder, not of disappointment, as they realized the true nature of their treasure. "These look like original documents from Riverton Bend's early days," Leo Baxter observed, carefully picking up a yellowed paper. Jake, peering over Leo's shoulder, added, "And these photos? It must be some of the earliest pictures of our town." The box was a time capsule, each item a fragment of Riverton Bend's history. There were land deeds, letters between the town's founders, and old newspaper clippings detailing significant events. One document in particular caught Henry's attention. "This looks like Charles Riverton's journal," he said, awe in his voice as he opened the weathered book. The journal contained entries about the town's development, personal anecdotes, and even detailed accounts of Riverton's interactions with sea traders and explorers. It painted a picture of a man deeply involved in the foundation and growth of Riverton Bend, far beyond what they had learned in school. "This is incredible," Sarah whispered, her eyes wide as she examined a faded photograph of old Whispers, the tree looking much younger but unmistakably the same. As they sifted through the box, the sense of connection to their town's history deepened. They were holding pieces of the past that had shaped their community, pieces that told stories of hardships, triumphs, and everyday life. "We need to share this with everyone," Jake said, a sense of responsibility in his tone. "This isn't just our treasure, it's the town's." He nodded in agreement. "We'll present it to the Historical Society. They'll know how to preserve and display these properly." The discovery of the box under the oak tree was not the end of their adventure. It was a beginning of a deeper appreciation for their town, its history, and the people who had lived and shaped it. As they packed up the documents and artifacts, the group felt a mix of satisfaction and nostalgia. The treasure they had found was more valuable than gold. It was a treasure of knowledge and connection. Their journey had come to an end, but the stories they had uncovered would live on, a testament to the rich tapestry of Riverton Bend's history. The mystery of the old oak tree and the map had been solved, but it had given them something far greater, a link to their past and a story to share with future generations. With the box safely packed away, the group stepped out of Jake's garage, the night air cool and refreshing. They looked towards old Whispers in the distance, the tree now a symbol of their shared adventure and a keeper of the town's secrets, old and new. The treasure had been unveiled, but the memories of their journey would remain, a cherished part of their own history. In the days following their remarkable discovery, Henry Hawk-Smart, Leo Baxter, and their friends found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of excitement in Riverton Bend. The Historical Society had organized a special exhibit to showcase the artifacts and documents they had found, drawing the entire community together in a celebration of the town's rich history. Standing among the display cases in the local museum, Henry and Leo looked at the artifacts they had unearthed. The items, now carefully preserved and labeled, told a story that went beyond what they had initially imagined their treasure hunt would reveal. "Oh, Leo, when we started this, I thought we'd find gold or something," Henry mused, his gaze on a faded photograph of the town square from a century ago. Leo, his hands in his pockets, smiled. "Yeah, but this feels more important than gold. We've helped bring our town's history to life." The boys' journey had become a topic of admiration among the townsfolk. As they walked around the exhibit, they were greeted with smiles and words of gratitude. Their adventure had not only uncovered a hidden chapter of Riverton Bend's history, but had also brought the community closer. Jake Collins, once a rival in their treasure hunt, came over to them. "You guys did something great here." "We all did," he said, a tone of respect in his voice. "It wasn't just us. It was a team effort," Henry replied, acknowledging the role everyone had played in the discovery. Experience had taught them the value of history and community. They had delved into the past and, in doing so, had strengthened the bonds within their present community. The artifacts were a tangible connection to the generations that had walked the streets of Riverton Bend before them, each item a reminder of the town's enduring spirit. Beyond the historical significance, the adventure had deepened their friendships. They had worked together, solved problems, and faced challenges that had seemed insurmountable. The camaraderie and trust they had built were the real treasures, far surpassing any material wealth they could have uncovered. As the exhibit came to a close, the boys stood under the old oak tree in the park, looking up at its sturdy branches against the evening sky. Old Whispers, as they had affectionately come to know the tree, was more than just a landmark. It was a symbol of their adventure and the discoveries they had made together. "Think there are more mysteries out there in Riverton Bend?" Leo asked, a twinkle in his eye. "Definitely," Henry replied, a smile spreading across his face. "And we'll be ready for them. But for now, let's just enjoy this moment." The adventure of Henry Hawk Smart and Leo Baxter culminated in a community celebration that brought the entire town of Riverton Bend together in the very heart of it all. The park with the ancient oak tree, now more legendary than ever. The warm glow of string lights adorned the branches of Old Whispers, and the park buzzed with excitement and pride. Tables were laden with homemade treats, and the air was filled with music from a local band. The community had come out in full force to celebrate not only the town's enriched history, but also the young heroes who had brought it to life. As the mayor took to the makeshift stage, the crowd gathered around, their faces illuminated by the soft light of lanterns hanging from the trees. Henry and Leo stood at the front, a little nervous, but mostly filled with a sense of accomplishment. "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls," the mayor began, his voice carrying through the park, "we are gathered here tonight to celebrate a remarkable discovery made by our very own young residents, Henry Smart and Leo Baxter." Applause erupted from the crowd, and Henry felt his cheeks redden slightly, unaccustomed to being the center of attention in such a way. Their determination, intelligence, and respect for our town's history have brought to light treasures that we never knew existed, the mayor continued. Thanks to them, we now have a deeper understanding and appreciation of the rich tapestry that is Riverton Bend's history. Leo leaned in and whispered to Henry, "Can you believe this? We're like celebrities now." He chuckled. "I'll take being a history detective over a celebrity any day." The mayor invited them to say a few words. Henry, taking a deep breath, stepped forward. "We just wanted to explore and maybe find a treasure," he said, his voice steady. "But we found something much more valuable. We learned about our town's past, and we brought our community together. That's the real treasure." Leo nodded in agreement, adding, "And we couldn't have done it without the help of everyone here. This is our town's story, and we all share in it." The crowd cheered, their faces a mixture of pride and joy. The boys had not only brought history to life, but had also reminded the town of the importance of community and shared heritage. As the celebration continued, people shared stories, laughed and danced under the canopy of the old oak tree. Henry and Leo, enjoying the festivities, knew that this was a night they would remember for the rest of their lives. The story of their adventure, the secret of the old oak tree, had woven itself into the fabric of Riverton Bend's history, a reminder that sometimes the greatest treasures are the stories and connections that bind a community together. Under the watchful boughs of old whispers, Henry and Leo looked out at the faces of their neighbors, friends, and family, realizing that the adventure had given them a deeper sense of belonging and a connection to their town that would last a lifetime. As the stars twinkled above, the boys knew that their journey had come to a perfect end. They had uncovered secrets, solved mysteries, and in doing so had discovered the true heart of Riverton Bend.